All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Commitmas. Today we're building web pages for your project with Jekyll and GitHub. Uh, we have Kellan Damm presenting. Just some show notes. I'm sorry, it was Kellan. Sorry. Um,
That's right.
some quick show notes. You can jump in on the conversation using the hashtag vBrownbag or the hashtag Commitmas. The episodes are recorded and will be up at the GitHub repo. And with that, we're going to pass this on. All right, you should now have presenter rights.
Okay, so I'm going to show that screen. So do you see the GitHub screen right here?
I do.
Okay, great. Okay, let me move some stuff around here and we'll get started. Well, thanks, Ahmad, for everything. Tonight, as Ahmad said, I'm going to show you guys how to create a web page with GitHub. And I'm also going to show you how to do development with Jekyll. So I guess let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is you want to log into your GitHub site or create one, whichever you got. And you're going to want to create a new repository. So we're going to click on that. And by default, what you want to do is for your repository name, you want to keep it with your username and then .github.io, like it put there. You can also, if you have an organization, you can use that. You'll just have to use that organizational name to create it. And once you're creating a new repository, like anything else, you can give a description, make it public. And also, if you really wanted to, you could do it git ignore now, or I'll show you down the road of 3 little things that I've added in the past to blocks. So when you do a push for your site, it's not showing particular things. So we're going to let that create the repository. So then, now that that's created, what we're going to do is I'm going to do a git clone within my folder here. I've already okay, that's already done. And then just for testing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an index.html site just so I can push up to the GitHub Pages site and make sure it works properly. So let's make sure that it's saved. So I'm not trying to go that's there. And then just for now, I'm going to do a couple pushes. So I'm just going to do that first. So that's great. First commit. Origin does not appear to be a Git repository. Well, wouldn't you know, usually when you're trying to do stuff, well, that's why. Of course, I didn't CD into the folder. There. So when you finally get it like that. And as you can see, it's already up there. It goes really fast. And now what you can also do, if you wanted to, say, have a custom domain name, like I have virtually down, what you can quickly do with that is all you have to do is you create a CNAME file within the same folder, and then you'll pull your oops, I hate this sometimes. Escape. Add that, and then we're going to do another push. So now what I should be able to do, I'm able to go to virtually download Commitmas, and that's already added. So the other things, of course, I already have it configured. You know, it's not just that. The other thing, two things you have to do on the back end to get that to work is actually create 2 record sets. And the 2 record sets that you need to do, I'm actually doing AWS Route 53, you can do whatever you want, is you have to add these 2 IP addresses as an A record for virtually down. And then also you have to create a CNAME to your GitHub IO site. That's all you do. You let it replicate and change. Probably would have helped me to show you that sooner. But so there's that first piece. And I guess before I get to the second one, is there any questions regarding that? Any changes? You know, if you really wanted to, you could just run with this, you know, create your own site, do whatever you'd want to do. So, any questions?
So far, but I am curious because I know a lot of bloggers have moved off of WordPress onto this. I'm just curious, have you migrated your entire blog or?
Yes, I did. And just for this, I totally deleted it. But in this folder here, I have it. I have this data ridge. I have this waiting to be put back. And I'm hoping that all I got to do is copy it back to that folder and push it up, and hopefully it works. So.
Okay, so I mean, I'm sure you'll probably show this, or if not, then maybe we could talk offline. But how long and how much effort was it to pull over your individual blog posts and with all the content and get it looking the way it was?
Well, probably the hardest part, and I'll show you, is actually theming it the way you want. Getting Jekyll set up, doing everything like that, that's a quick and easy part. It's theming it and then migrating. I know about the time that I was doing it, Scott Lowe was doing it also, and when I got everything done, I waited for his blog post to see how he was converting it, and he shows that. So, and I believe he has a big long blog post about how he did it.
Yes.
So the second part of it, and this is probably the biggest thing for a lot of bloggers and things like that, is to utilize a product called Jekyll. If you didn't know, Jekyll, the back end of GitHub Pages is actually Jekyll. And they actually, when you're deploying it, there's a whole slew of different ways you can do that. The best way that I found is, since I'm running a Mac, I've actually installed Jekyll by using Brew. You can also do it by Windows. You can also, of course, do it with your favorite variant of Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, whatever you want to do. But I'm, of course, using a Mac, so I'm using Brew. So the 3 requirements that you normally have to install to get Jekyll running on any solution is run Node.js, Ruby, and also actually, no, this changed since then. That's right. Since version 3, you no longer need Python. But previous, like versions 2 and back, you needed Python because it called some of those. But I mean, those 2 things, I guess. Sorry. But I guess from a Mac standpoint, of course, if you're using Brew, you need Xcode and Brew installed and all that. So from a Mac standpoint, since that's what I'm running on, it's really easy to install. You do, you know, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to break anything and have to start over. So to install Ruby, you just do a Brew install Ruby, and then to Jekyll, same with Node, just do a brew install node, run that, and then also to run it to install Jekyll, you just do a gem install Jekyll. And I know GitHub pages, they actually recommend that you run clone their variant GitHub pages into there. And I don't have that link with me. But I know if you go to the GitHub pages site and scroll to the bottom, there's a Jekyll link. There's a Jekyll link, and it'll show you how to install that. So we're just going to kind of like the magic of cooking on those cooking shows. We're going to pretend that everything's good to go. So one thing that you're unable to do is that when you deploy a Jekyll site, you can't deploy it into an existing folder. So like, for example, if I want to create a new site, command format is Jekyll new. I can't do Jekyll new that. It's going to fail. It's not empty. So what you can do first, if you really wanted to, is you could just, before you cloned your GitHub site, you could actually, create Jekyll new. If you do that location, Jekyll new folder, create all your files and then push it up. But what I'm going to do is, since I don't want to have to create all those files now, I'm just going to go Jekyll new K, I'm going to cd into K, and I'm just going to move all these. With Jekyll, all their files are just flat. There's nothing really that you're going to affect if you move this. So we're just going to move all that. I'm just going to get the link here. So now all of it's there, and we got all our pages. And one thing I want to check is that it modifies my index.html page, and it does. And primarily what Jekyll uses for development is Markdown. So you can use a lot of tools. Me specifically, I use Sublime Text. I know on the Windows side, you can use Visual Studio Code. There's Atom. There's a whole slew. So really, the sky's the limit. Also, it's all HTML based, so you can do HTML. And if you do, you can go find certain things, how to do for example, like Markdown. There's different ways you can do an H2. That would be, I believe it's 2 stars or whatever they call that. I'm drawing a blank right now. But for starting out, the other folder that you're going to want to, file that you want to focus on is this config YAML. What this does is kind of like your one-stop shop, your config file, kind of like your comp file for everything. I'll show you this here in a second, and then we'll modify it, and I'll show you the difference after the fact. Oops, what did I do? Oh, oops. So we'll show you this in a second. See, as you can see, your title, email, things like that. It'll grab all that stuff for you, and I'll show you that after a second. So now that we have the folder structure for Jekyll to run, what we're going to do is we're going to start the Jekyll service. And there's various ways that you can start Jekyll, of course. You can do Jekyll serve -- detach, and that's the preferred way to start that, and that's going to run a background process for you with a PID. So if you need to, you can go kill it. You can also do a Jekyll serve and if you wanted to from a Linux standpoint. But I'm going to run Jekyll serve detach. It's going to build my site right now, and it's going to give me the PID. I'm just entering here. We're just going to go HTTP localhost. Jekyll by default runs on port 4000 on your local machine. So as you can see, everything's built here. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go localhost here. And as you can see, this is the default template that you get when you deploy Jekyll. So as I was saying before, that _config YAML file there, we're going to go edit that. I'm just going to go edit two things. 2015. You can go edit all this stuff. And so now, since I made that change, it's not necessarily on the fly. And if you make any changes, you want to do a Jekyll build. And what that's going to do is that it's actually going to make any changes, and it's going to automatically generate a new site for you, or new site for you. So going to that, also, whenever you do this Jekyll build, it actually replaces all the files in the CD, the site folder. All these right here, it grabs all those, builds them on the fly, and then it'll serve them out. So one recommendation is don't really mess with anything in here, because as soon as you do a build or a serve, they'll get replaced. So now that we did a build, as you can see, this changed and that changed. So those are the only two things I did. So the other thing you can do too, that if you're making a lot of changes, you can also run Jekyll build -- watch, and that's the same as when we started serve. That's just going to run as a backward process, and kind of like any time that it sees a change, it's automatically going to do this. So you can run that too, and it's also going to create a PID for you. It should. Okay. Oh, I don't know. Let's just do that. Should have created a PID. Yep, right there, 1831. So now if I quickly go change that, GitHub username, I'll go quickly change this. You should see it automatically update for us if it works properly. Actually, it's probably running in the background, but I probably don't have to run it. And I should have changed, but it didn't. Now, if I do that, it should. No, of course. The next thing that I'm going to show you guys is, like for the bloggers, how do I create a post? This is all great, how do I show my content and things like that? So in the folder structure, there's a folder called posts, and we'll change it to that. I'll show you real quick. And the file structure for those are in a markdown format. So really what you can do is there's two different ways. You can, let me see here, I'm going to this folder. Do this like this. There's two different ways you can do this. You could manually copy it and duplicate it, or some themes, they actually have a tool for you to build, and what that's called is actually called Rake. Right now, I don't have it built out for that. Like I said, I GitHub bio pages. If you run that Git file in there, it'll actually install Rake, and then you can actually run this Rake post title, and then your pages, the page that you I think it's equal, and then whatever, commit, and it'll actually create a file similar to this, and I'll show you what the content of this looks like. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm just going to rename it. I keep doing that. So as you can see, this is just an exact duplicate of the same one. If you really wanted to, you could change that. We're going to change that to Commitmas 2015. And then you can pretty much change everything you want. Delete that. And then I have I'm not going to go crazy on a post here. I'm just going to add something. What I'm doing here is, I'm drawing a blank already. I think this pound sign is H1, and I think the 2 stars are bold. I could have that mixed up. The other thing here is I'm creating a link for a JPEG file, and then I'm going to copy it to this location and copy the same content. So I'm going to take this folder and I'm going to put it in my GitHub pages. Paste it. Oh, of course. Oh, I thought I copied in there. Okay, so my file's in there. Everything's in there. Just do a quick file save. Everything should work. It's actually doing it now. As you can see, my build actually regenerated 2 files, and it actually did rake. Oh, no rake file found because I ran that. I'm sorry. So let's do a Jekyll build. Post requested. That may have been from a previous call. Let's make sure that that works by refreshing that. Yep, it did. And as you can see, I created my page. I got a nice little picture in there. All looks cool. And what we're going to do here, finally, before I push it up to my GitHub site, I want to add a gitignore file. Yeah, and let me get out of here. So if I just add it to this folder. Of course, like I said before, the first location you don't want to have is you don't want to have underscore site in there. You also don't want to do the fast cache. I think that's just for things so it'll remember where it's at. And then Jekyll dash metadata. This came from the Jekyll site. So I'm going to run that. Okay. So right now, we pretty much have our site done. We can push it up if we'd like. Final build. Might take a few seconds. I should do a refresh. Might take, usually on the first build, it takes a little bit. Let's see here. Make sure they're all there. Final build, it did come up. So it should, there we go. There's my page. Really, that's all there is as far as from getting started standpoint. You can pretty much research, use whichever theme you want. I recommend you check out, I'll show you the site, Jekyll Bootstrap. That'll help you with a lot of things. Like I said, that gives you rake, pretty much everything you want. You can use a GitHub site, a lot of documentation that you can go find. So really pretty easy to build. It's just a matter of getting out there and testing out. So is there any other questions?
No question from the audience. Just curious, what did you do? Were you using any plugins or anything on WordPress? And what did you transition to when you came over and migrated over to Jekyll?
I was using primarily WordPress. I really wasn't a full-blown blogger like, say, you or someone else. I just, just one day I saw GitHub pages in Jekyll, and I was like, this looks pretty cool, so give it a shot, build it out, and it seemed pretty straightforward and easy. It's just, getting it right. So, the other thing that I recommend, if you saw that I actually have a shell script that it does all my commits for me. I actually have that in my path. that I run all the time.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people that I've seen run they do the git commit and dash m and all that. I got that all built into a script and it works pretty slick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody wants to see it, but
Yeah, sure.
just that. That's all I do all the time. Read, add a commit message, commit, call that, done. And I got SSH set up, so it always runs a lot faster than, having to run all those 3 lines. So really
Okay.
slick.
And you schedule that as well?
Schedule it.
Well,
I could run it as a cron job if I
yeah, I was going
wanted
to
to.
say because currently right now, like with WordPress, I just schedule it and walk away, and it posts the time I tell it to. So I don't want to have to manually do that again. So I figured you'd probably use a cron job for that, right?
Yeah, if you wanted to use, say, like a shell script like I got, you could definitely do that. That'd be probably a good deal, because you could always you could point your commit to a particular folder and kind of go with that. So, but I'm pretty sure I covered everything. So now I guess everyone can really start building pages. So
No, this is awesome, very helpful. I know a lot of people are transitioning away from WordPress, so this will definitely be helpful.
sure, yeah. So
All right. Do any questions from the audience? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.